Okay, 4 seconds in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live show, broadcasting from the GFL station, also to Retooling the World. I'm delighted, honored, excited, all the above to have my wonderful friend and wonderful spiritual teacher, Jeff Dunphy of Retooling the World with me. I think this is divine timing that we are having another conversation here. We're going to go through some things today. We're going to have a Q&A today. We've got a really amazing, fun discussion to have with you all. And there is an upcoming semester of classes coming up that Jeff is teaching that I've been part of many, many times that I want to share with you all again today. Some of you are familiar. For some of you, this is new. And if you're here, it's no accident. So welcome. But welcome, Jeff, my friend. And it's going to be a great chat, I'm sure.
David, I'm delighted to be here this evening. Welcome, Thomas and Bev and Sandra and Chelsea and Red and Cheryl and Damien and SoCal. It's delightful to have you here tonight. We're going to introduce you tonight to a modern day version of the Mystery School and how you can contribute to the emancipation of mankind and also contribute to connecting with the genius that every single one of us has within us. And we are eternally grateful for being and having the opportunity to be of service. And we also want to share with you stuff that's been shared for thousands of years and is now being shared contemporarily in a fashion that we think is more digestible and easily embraced and synthesized.
Amazing, yeah. So Jeff, maybe a little bit about, I don't know if we normally do this, about your background that we probably have done before, but you've been teaching this material for many thousands of years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But in this incarnation, many, many, many decades. Do you want to give a bit of a background on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been teaching this for the better part of 40 years, about 37 or 38 years. I'm a recovering investment banker, so I used to be in the real world, and I'm also a former professor at the University of Calgary. So I've taught for a long time. I went walkabout for about 7 years in and out of where I lived and went to various places in the world and investigated all the ancient teachings, Egypt, Peru, the Himalayas, Tibet, China, all over. And because I was curious about things that weren't conventional. And this aspect of what we're bringing to the world today is a contemporary version of the mystery schools that have been taught forever, like for tens of thousands of years. But most currently in the public domain was taught by Pythagoras. And so this is what we want to share with you tonight. And we think it's absolutely imperative that the light bearers of the world kind of grab onto this and use it in order to empower themselves, one, to see through the nonsense and the miasm and the illusion and the crap that's being fed to us, and also to be able to use it as a catalyst for self-discovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just talking to you off camera here. The energies today I found to be extraordinarily strong. And let's maybe break the ice with that. I mean, we are heading into a chapter now in the world where there are some revelations coming that are going to be extraordinary, even to us who know quite a bit behind the scenes. And many of you watching this are in that bracket. And it's going to be a sort of a time as this, I call them the shadow, Jeff calls them the DF, the dark forces. You can call them whatever you wish. Watching this, where they're very cornered now. And this old energy, this old paradigm of needing to control via control methods, mainly psychological, is coming to an end. And those who have been doing this, and we've allowed them to do this through soul contracts, but we're here to now end this by bringing in the light. The shadow is going to not go quietly into the night. And we're going to see, as we already are, some crazy SHIT So do you want to maybe comment on that, Jeff, before we get into some slides?
There's a phrase that David and I have used for years, and it's called "Evil has within it the seeds of its own destruction." And whether it plays out over thousands of years or tens of years or one of years, what happens is the selfish destroy themselves just by their very selfishness. And what's happening right now, the DF, the dark forces, the shadow side, the dweller on the threshold is what some of the masters would make reference to this. This stuff has to be tended to in order for us to recalibrate ourselves into a different orbit of vibration. So part of this next chapter is extricating ourselves from the goo, or as David said, the merde show, the nonsense, and bring ourselves into a new realm of being. And there's a wonderful slide in what we're about to show you that talks about, imagine if everybody is conscientious and kind and gracious and takes care of everybody as if they are their own, not unlike some of the scriptures talk about treat your neighbor as yourself. I mean, do well unto another. And so this is a very magic time. It's precarious and it's tumultuous, and we've seen all kinds of calamity all over the world, but it is a sign that the light is being turned on so brightly that those who hide in the shadows can no longer hide, and they're being dismissed summarily.
Yeah, I echo all of that. Yeah, it's getting louder and louder. There is, and we'll jump into some slides very shortly here. There is a wonderful scene at the end of the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, where she goes through the wormhole. They drop the ball, and she goes through. And of course, they can't see this with the physical eyes, but she encounters it. She goes through the wormhole. It's incredibly violent. It's a very violent experience where there's twists and turns, and she's sort of narrating it through her earpiece back to the command center, and then it cuts off, and they lose almost, I think, all of it in the end. But there's sort of a scene where she goes through the second chapter, and it's even more violent than the first, and she gets sort of exposited. She gets expelled from her chair in this little spherical ship that they've built, and she's sort of floating because there's zero gravity, and she's beyond time and space at this point. She's in a different dimension, and the chair is still violently shaking because the external shell is still being affected by the external forces. But then it breaks free, like it's like, and then it breaks, and then it's this beautiful quiet sort of stillness, which is very extraordinary. And I feel us heading, we're sort of the chair right now. We're feeling the vibrations, and the breaking for me is what we're going to talk about tonight. It's the joy class material. It's allowing you to experience the vibration and the extremities of these things, but then get quiet and enable you to break free and feel that stillness by going within. So yeah, I feel that. And as we go into these slides now, Jeff's going to go through them as he always does. I just want to reiterate how important the joy material, the upcoming semester, was for and is for my spiritual growth. I've taken these a number of times now, and every time they allow me to unpack another level of my ascension journey. It's a very personal journey for everyone, but also to be part of a community in the Lamasery. It's been very, very amazing. And to this day it is. And it doesn't matter whether you're from Canada or from America, wherever you are in the world, if you want to take these courses, you can plug in online, which I love that you offer that. So let's get into the slides, shall we, if you're ready?
Absolutely, yeah.
We have about 230 of you wonderful folks live. And stick around, by the way, guys. We're going to do a Q&A at the end, so please do hang on.
Okay, part of the aspect of the mystery school is the quest that we all have within us, this hunger that we all have within us, that there's more to this world than meets the eye. And one of the things that happens at various points in your life is you reach a place where the ancients used to call it soul, uh, a soul quest or spiritual unrest. You used to go, okay, I've got the house, I've got the wife, I've got the family, I've got all of that, but I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel quenched. I don't feel as if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think it boils down to there are things to be done by each and every one of you that are done better by you than anybody else in the world. And so if that's the case, does it not behoove you all to find out what that is? And this is what the mystery schools have done from time immemorial, is engaged you in becoming so aware of who you are that you can follow the quest or follow the genius initiatives that are inherent in your very being, in the package that you're born in. Okay. And as we start to really glean how important it is that you are here, you underestimate your purpose here. And your purpose here literally is to emancipate mankind, or to illuminate the world. And the world right now is in desperate need of illumination. There's all kinds of stuff happening, which is magic. It's also heinous and nasty and grotesque on one side, but it's also brilliant on the other. And we are akin to, for those of you who have had children, we are akin to the transition, that place where the mother is pregnant and everything's okay. And then that moment where she goes, oh, I'm about to give birth to a child. And that's the part of transition. And that's where everything changes. You go into a different sense of being. And as David said, you get into this sense of quiet and this sense of there's only one way out of this, and it's to birth forward a new life. We're in this state of giving birth to a whole new vibratory realm. And it's, on one hand, it's not pretty, but on the other hand, it is profoundly ripe and brilliant, because we're about to give birth to a whole new, as we said before earlier, a whole new vibratory realm. And that's magic, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a big thing I think for a lot of people is we've been in this mode of this density, which is just the paradigm, of course, is to make money, pay your bills, and try and have as great a life as you can. Whereas the galactic big picture now it's coming into frame, isn't it? It's coming into frame for all of us, and we're starting to go, not just, oh, there's something more to this. Holy crap! Like, I'm actually one of the leaders in this birthing of the new paradigm, and I think why so many hundreds of millions, maybe billions of people turn to religion, and if that's you watching this, that's totally fine, by the way, is that they're trying to get closer to that source to bring that out. And what I love about joy is it gives you it gives you a structure and a framework to do that, and it's very unique. So I wanted to share that. But okay.
So this is a quote by Tagore, and I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. We often miss the very important phrase that when you have a gift, as one of the famous quotes went, your purpose is to find the gift that you were given in the first part of your life, and the next is to give it away, is to present it to the world. And if we are to awaken the world to the brilliance of whom they are, that is a service of joy. And it's very magic, very magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this next slide talks about how we've been indoctrinated to think that happiness merely comes from self-gratification. Another piece of cake, another toke, another bottle of wine, another shot of tequila, another whatever, another sexual episode. We're starting to see this over and over and over again. And one of the things that happens is it's vacuous. It doesn't feed you. And one of the things that in fact does feed you is fidelity to the brilliance of who you are in giving away this gift of yours. And whether it is in music, whether it is in art, whether it is in commerce, whether it is in education, whether it is in oratory, it doesn't matter. But every one of you is a divine part of this cosmic orchestra. And you need to own that, because this shift, this change, this vibratory augmentation is vital to the future of the world.
Absolutely. I've talked about this on the GFL station quite a bit, and there's been a few messages that have come out recently. Those who are paying attention to the financial world, the financial changes that have already been laid in terms of the foundation, but are coming out into the public narrative right now, are extremely important as it relates to this slide, in fact. And you may not think they're related, but they are. And that is that so many people have put their purpose on hold because of the need to have to spend so many hours a day going to a job or do what it is. All this is beneficial to your growth, and whatever you're doing is great. But we're now entering a paradigm where, as we start to think about, okay, if I had 500 million in the bank, what would I really do? What would my purpose be? How would I bring my gifts out to the collective? We're now entering that place with these changes that are coming in, that's going to allow more and more light workers, light bearers, to exercise their purpose. And we'll talk about that in other shows, but I wanted to mention that because the physical infrastructure is going to support that a lot more and much quicker than we think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think there's something very profound in this time. And one of the things that the mystery schools of yore had is they introduced you to a definitive owner's manual. And we asked that question, what if you had an owner's manual? Now, I, for one, don't read owner's manuals until I was introduced to the fact that we all have one. And what if you had an owner's manual? What if you knew that you shouldn't be eating tomatoes, or you shouldn't be eating dairy, or you shouldn't be eating kumquats? It doesn't matter. But as soon as you realize that you shouldn't be doing it, you start to shape and you start to maneuver and you start to navigate your life in accordance with what is meant for you and how you embrace it. Now, the ancients in all sorts of investigative teachings talk to you about your astrology, your psychology, your connectivity to the divine. And they teach you, and the mystery school teaches you how to connect to that. Because every one of us is in this proverbial body bottle, but there's something about us, this genius that resides within us, that connecting to actually brings us into a profound state of knowingness. And we're working in a world where we're being told what to believe rather than getting quiet enough and learning what we know. And that's very important, very important.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah.
Now we've operated and we've played in this arena where comply and you'll be okay. And the fact is you cannot comply yourself into freedom. And I think what everybody's starting to wake up to is compliance does not emancipate mankind. What compliance does is it imprisons mankind, and we're seeing the result of that. And we have no idea what happens when everybody stands up and says, no, I will not act in my worst interest or in anybody else's worst interest. So that's this magic time that we get to play. And it's important. It's very important.
Yeah, no, I love that. There's a paradox approaching. We love paradoxes. And that is that on the one hand, we are going to have revealed to us this web of lies and deceit, if you want to look at it that way, but this misaligned narrative, and certain individuals, many of them who are in the public eye, are going to be brought forward as being complicit in these crimes against humanity, whatever you want to call it. And so we, as bearers of the light, there'll be an urge to celebrate because of the repression that we and the ostracization in this life and others that we're bringing through and cleansing and healing now to celebrate about this. But on the same page, we are also asked to hold the light in compassion and forgiveness. And it's going to be quite an interesting dimension, that sort of chapter and dimension that we go into with this. But yeah, so be ready for that, guys.
So David makes a very good point, and it is this. We have to be ever mindful that when we're in grade 9 or 10, not to wag a finger at those in grade 3, but we also need to be perpetually mindful that we cannot give those who are in grade 3 who don't know any better the power to rule or the power to overlord our lives, right? So this is a very magic little oratory by my wife, and it's just about how brilliant you are. So let's dive in.
No matter how far you've traveled in circles on other people's detours, adopted as your own, regardless of how much time you may feel you've wasted playing small or hiding away, in spite of the static that may pervade the space between you and the naked truth of your being, you are here to be a gift. You came into this world carrying a flame that cannot be extinguished. It is the same light that lives at the center of all things. To be here now means that you carry a secret ingredient in your depths that is needed by the soul of the world. You are the only one who brings what you bring in the exact way that you bring it. Hidden within you is a balm of renewal, the sacred imagining of a new way, a golden thread woven by the hand of God. You carry an ancient key that cannot be warped by time or distorted by the heat of a world gone mad. At your innermost core echoes the resounding answer to our time's most pressing questions. Within you lives a treasure that awaits, not your voyage of discovery to distant lands, but your stillness and sinking into the rich ground of your being. Entry will cost you no less than everything inauthentic. You may have to burn your house to the ground before you can see the stars. At the deepest root, you'll find a spring dripping nectar, the pilot light of your existence, a north star closer to you than the sound of your own heart beating, a divine spark tenderly aching for its liberation. It is the light of your inimitable gift, waiting to be given to the world it was always destined for.
The gift you're destined to be.
Beautiful. I love it. I love Marianne's musings and wisdoms. They really are very powerful.
We oftentimes lose sight of how brilliant we are, and we underestimate our capacity to change, right? You know, there's something very magic about this. And this talks about, this particular slide talks about where we should so choose to go. And imagine, if you will, a world in which everyone is conscientious, caring, and responsible. Imagine when you look at people on the street, when you interact with anybody in your realm, you are kind and gracious and conscientious about their well-being. What a magic world we could be, and we are in the throes of building, you know? Very magic, very important.
It's incredible. There's I think this was from Joel, it was from the Master's books, I can't remember. And by the way, there's a wonderful esoteric library that Jeff has to take advantage of if you go to the classes live. But either way, you can get books online, no problem. But it was from somewhere that I read, maybe Joel's material, where when you make the shift, we are caught up in our day-to-day stuff and life as we are in these human bodies. And so much of that is rooted around of doing, and unless we really realize it, of getting. We go to the gym for us, we go to the grocery store for us, we go to wherever, and it's mainly about us. And when we flip the paradigm of, I'm not actually going to the gym, I'm not actually going to the grocery store, I'm going out to be a light in the world, I'm going out to serve and add value, and I'm also going to the gym, I'm also going to the grocery store. When we actually flip our intention like that, there is this incredible, and be ready for it, because you'll be drawn to your people who need that light more than you have ever known. I can tell you that. When we made that paradigm shift, we begin to start to walk the path, don't we, of being in service wherever we go. And so that speaks to that. We're changing this paradigm of existing just to do stuff to existing to serve.
There's something very magic about getting really quiet, whether you wander around in the woods, whether you go swim, whether you park yourself in a pool of water, or even in the bathtub. The quieter you get, oftentimes, and if you can let the thoughts, if you can extricate yourself from identification with your thoughts, there's a very magic space where you can hear. And the ancients talk about, you can listen to the voice of the silence. And I think there's something very magic about getting quiet. And we live in a world where quiet and lack of noise is profoundly absent. It's very, very noisy. And so consequently, how is it that we find that silence? And each and every one of us needs to do that, whether it's headphones, whether it's earplugs, whatever it is. Finding the silence gives us access to realms that we would not have access to with our ears wide open. Okay? It's very important.
That was hilarious that your phone
indeed.
dinged there right at that. I mean, what the heck? You can't make this stuff up.
So we live in an education system where everybody is taught to be mediocre, right? Everybody is in this place of they don't celebrate the brilliance of people. What they do is they want to train everybody to be the same. And this is a great slide that talks about, we're gonna examine people, and you're gonna say, please climb that tree, which is hilarious. And you've got a monkey, a giraffe, or a monkey, an elephant, a penguin, a fish, and a goat. And who's kidding who, right? Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. How many of you have lived some of your life thinking that you aren't enough? You aren't smart enough, tall enough, whatever it is, you aren't enough. And you are. Part of the ancient teachings talks about each and every one of you. There are things to be done by you, done better by you than anybody else in the world. Plug into it, learn about it. The discovery of who you are is very, very important, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this slide talks about, this little boy is 4 or 5 years old, and he plays, I mean, we aren't able to play it, but he plays Mozart as a 5-year-old. And one of the things that this is an expression of is how extraordinary a 5-year-old can be, and how part of us goes, oh, well, that's him, he's special. No, every one of you has the brilliance that this little boy does. It's merely expressed in a different flavor, And the next slide, again, is about this magnificent young woman, where her musical prowess, her brilliance is stunning, And in the same breath, it reminds us that our own brilliance has yet to be made manifest. And maybe not, maybe it has been made manifest, but we each of us have a special gift. And I don't want any of you to think for a moment that you are not gifted, because that in and of itself is a very disempowering thought. Oh, and by the way, society wants you to think that. The religions want you to think that. All sorts of people who want to overwhelm you and control you want you to think that. If everybody basically stood up and said, I am a gifted sovereign being, the world would change in a nanosecond. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's yeah, I love it. Amazing. There is the way we sort of think about our soul and think about God is very interesting, and everyone has their own sort of mindset and belief around that, and visualization and conceptualization of that. And I like to think of God as individualized consciousness, as our souls being extensions of the Creator. So, like the rays of the sun are not the sun, but they are emanating from it. They're extensions of it. As so, I believe we are too of that way with the Creator, with God. And when you think about that there is individualized consciousness, souls, in these human bodies now, the expression of which is all very individual, really ties into what you're saying about there are things to be done by you, better by you than anybody else. And we have been in this mode of suppressing it and compressing it, and not just in this lifetime. So for those of you who are feeling, and I know many of you are in this boat right now, that call to creativity, there's a call to creativity right now. This is the soul, the nudgings of spirit, as Jeff says, as we say, to move towards really not putting a lid on your creative expression anymore. It needs to be let free. So I want to share that. Okay, next.
Interesting. Aha, a technical glitch here. There's an old Taoist saying, David, about to be able to see the world through eyes unclouded by longing. And when you flip that around, it's, can you see the world in a way that allows you to see what is, as opposed to what you want to see or what you've been told to see? And that's important. And this slide nails it, right? There's a square, there's a circle, and there's a triangle. Every one of them is true. It depends on your perspective. And one of the things that happens as the elders come into their time in our society, they start to speak the truth for those who have ears to hear. And when they start to speak the truth, or they start to turn the lights on, the receptivity of people now at this point in time, at 2025, their receptivity is really high. So they are ready, willing, and able to receive true statements, where a day, a week, a month, a decade ago, they couldn't have. It would have been so created such cognitive dissonance that they would have denied being told the truth. However, now there is this time where they are receptive to the truth. And there's a lot of whistleblowers out there now, a lot of truth tellers out there now saying, oi, pay attention. This is what I've experienced, and this is what you may need to pay attention to. And we're way more receptive to the fact that maybe they're telling the truth, right? Mm-hmm. And in this next slide, which is again another magic one, is all great truths begin as blasphemies. And as we move through this evolutionary process, there's a place where we say, I'm prepared to suspend disbelief in hearing this statement, whatever the statement is. Maybe big pharma isn't all about keeping us healthy. Maybe big food isn't about nourishing us. Maybe big government isn't about taking care of us. Whatever the official narrative is, I'm prepared to suspend disbelief and hold a thought or a declaration that is contrary to the official narrative. And then you start to say, who is it that makes the official narrative official, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a brilliant doctor years ago, and his name was Doc Hawkins. I've worked with him, and he left many years ago, but he was an MD, but also a PhD, and he did some brilliant work with a map of consciousness. And he talked about the vibratory rate. The most famous of his books is called Power versus Force, and it's extraordinary. And he talks about the vibratory rate of certain states of being, certain emotional states. The lowest two are guilt and shame, and these vibrate very, very low on the scale, and the highest are joy, peace, and enlightenment. Now, when you resonate in those arenas, your vibration is such that you affect everybody around you. And when you resonate on the lower, guilt and shame and apathy, one, you can be manipulated, and two, you can be controlled, which is maybe what is happening right now, is that those who are shamed or embarrassed or guilty of something can be told how to act and what to do. And so we're in a very tumultuous time where the lights are getting turned on, and those people who have been embarrassed or shamed or guilty of some heinous acts are easily manipulated to say and do what their puppeteers want them to do. And one of the things that we are here to do in this journey is to awaken the world to these higher states of consciousness, these higher vibratory realms. And this is what all the elders, all these wise sages from time immemorial have wanted to do for eons and eons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a message on this come out recently. I can't remember who it was from. It was maybe the Pleiadians, maybe Mira. But if you look at the chart here, guys, the lower three sections, red, orange, and yellow, of course, corresponds to the chakras, the 7 chakras of the body. I love David Hawkins' work. It's really very, very right on the money. Is that we have been, of course, we've agreed, but we've been conditioned to behave and live within these 3 chakras. And as a result, this is sort of what has put you on the karmic cycle, put us on the karmic cycle that's built the karmic escrow, the law of cause and effect, up to a point of having to continue to reincarnate. Now, the shift, the biggest shift, if you want to look at it this way, is that we're now moving into these next 3 chakras and living through these next 3 chakras. But we're still clinging a lot to these lower 3 in terms of the physical ways of being, beliefs, etc. And if you're experiencing a lot of intense energy right now, this is the reason why. It's because we've been anchored in these lower 3, and we're now being forced to let go of the things that keep us there. And so, as we move into this heart-centered living, as we move into participating in joy classes and sharing our light with the world, expect some pretty crazy things as we move into these upper ones, especially when it comes to the third eye opening, the brow chakra color here, the love, joy, and reason. And it's going to be quite a profound time as disclosure happens. We'll get to this at the end. The upper faculties will come online, and it's going to be quite an alarming, many of you have already experienced this, but quite an alarming process for that.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
No truer words have been spoken, David. Okay. Absolutely. So let's chat a little about those individuals who have, over the last 100 years or 150 years, have been instrumental in teaching us or speaking to our evolution and exposing us to these ancient truths. Now, this is a picture of Dwal Kul, who's also known as the Tibetan, or DK. Now, he has been interacting with various people, various authors over time, and has been instrumental in writing and creating literature with both Helena Blavatsky and also with Alice Bailey. Now, he has written with Helena Blavatsky. He, as well as three other masters, have been tending to and dealing with Helena Blavatsky's work, the Isis Unveiled, and also the Secret Doctrine. And he was also instrumental in giving guidance to both Helena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey, and my teacher, Dr. Douglas Baker. So there's some very magic things going on. And this has been going on for hundreds of years, but Blavatsky was sort of her seminal work, her tomes, her big books were Isis Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine. These were published in the late 1800s, 1875-ish. And it turned the world on its ear, right? And so and then the next slide, which is Helena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey, they were instrumental in being authors of the books that these individuals wrote. So in the next slide is Alice Bailey. Alice Bailey wrote 18 books with Dwal Kul, with DK, and they are the foundation of a great series of educational material that has been instrumental in contributing to the evolution of mankind. And then the next slide is one of the teachers that I grew up with from my early 20s into my 40s, into my 50s. Well, maybe not, into my 40s. And I traveled all over the world with her, and her name was Dorothy Gates. And she was also a student of DK. And we traveled all over the world together and did all kinds of magical things. And then the next slide is the slide of the latest teacher I had, and his name is Douglas Baker. Now in this, Douglas Baker was born in 1922. He went into the war. He was an orphan. He was orphaned at 16 years old, which is not dissimilar from my circumstance. I was left parentless at that age as well. And while my mother died, my father was bereft of his capacity to continue to act as a father. So we had similar scenarios. He went into the army and he fought in the Second World War. And he was, again, a very brilliant individual. And he wrote, Alice Bailey with Dwal Kul wrote 18 books. Alice wrote 7 on her own, so they wrote 25. DB, Douglas Baker, wrote 100 books in his time. So again, a very magic contributor to the emancipation of mankind, but more importantly, to the illumination of mankind through his works. And he is sitting next to a woman named Kamla Datlai. Now, Kamla happened to be the grandmother of my son-in-law. And many years ago, when I began my journey with DB, I said to my son-in-law, I'm involved with and doing work with Douglas Baker. And he said, I think my grandmother knows Douglas Baker. So in the next slide, which is quite hilarious. Lo and behold, here's Kamla and Jeff meeting in London some time ago. She's about 91 or 2 here. And we had this wonderful place of meeting each other for the first time, but we looked at each other, literally, David and everybody online, we looked at each other like long lost siblings. We looked at each other and went, wow, look at you, here we are. And so she was a very, very close friend of Douglas Baker, and also a very advanced yogini. She was a medical doctor. She worked out of Cambridge. She was also she was a lovely, lovely woman. And we talked about all kinds of things. It's almost as if we'd met many hundreds of years after leaving each other, if you will. And we just continued a dialogue in what we were meant to do here. So it was very, very magic, and one of those serendipitous moments in life where you go, thank you, God, thank you for reconnecting this scenario, right? A lovely, lovely one. She said to me when she first met me, I know you. It was lovely, and it just made my heart sing. It was very magic.
Amazing. Yeah, the soul family connections really are something special, aren't they? We're just finding each other all over the world, even now, even with a show like this, we're finding each other.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So one of the things that I have been directed to do over the past many decades has been to bring the teachings of the mystery schools and to contemporize them. None of them are new. These have all been around for thousands and thousands of years, but we contemporize them in a way that makes them easy to understand in one sense. But as David knows, when you're given these precepts, these selections, they don't make sense at first because they're designed not to make sense to your intellect, but to make sense to your abstract or your contemplative mind. So when they're first presented, for example, this is not one of the selections, but imagine the concept of, in order for you to be selfless, you must be selfish, but in order for you to be selfish, you must be selfless. Now that makes no sense to the intellect. However, when you get quiet enough with it and you noodle with it and you navigate with it and you stand in that awkward space of saying that doesn't make sense, and you hold that space, oh, I get it. If I take care of myself, I have more to give to the world. That's being selfish. If I take care of others, they benefit, so it benefits me. It sort of works around and with itself, and it's a wonderful concept. And the joy offerings are those. These precepts are paradoxical in nature, and they're also, and as David said, as professed, he's been through it time and time again. And the first time you think it's wonderful, and the next time you think, I completely missed what I did on the first time. Is that fair, David?
Oh yeah, my goodness. And it's almost like you've never read it before, or you've never gone through it before. Yeah, that's the sacredness of the material. It just continues to birth new things from the seed, and it's eternal. It will always be that way.
And one of the things that's quite magic about the joy offerings is the germ or the seed of these offerings is written about in all these books that have been written over the last 100 or 200 years. All of these have been written about continually, and we're just bringing them into the present, which is very, very magic. And it's part of that. I remember when I was first introduced to this 40 some odd years ago, where I went, this is extraordinary. I don't need a teacher for this, because it isn't from me. It's just being passed along, and I'm merely the messenger. But I don't need a teacher for this. These are magic things. However, what happened at the time is the community around which we embraced these teachings was so vibrant and so vivifying that we so thoroughly enjoyed these teachings in a community of like-minded individuals, and that was absolutely magic. So many times I brought tours to the south of France. I did some tours in Turkey as well. But in the south of France, you see the two vans behind us. We'd have 15 or 20 or 25 people in the south of France. And I'd bring them, this is a lavender field, and this is many years ago, but I'd bring them into the lavender field and I'd say, okay, get really quiet. And they'd all look at me like I was nuts, which, many would attest that I am nuts, but I'm a good kind of nuts, as David will confirm. So we would be in this field of lavender, and I'd say, get really quiet and listen. And they'd say, I can't hear anything. And then they get quiet enough and they go, oh, just a second. And they'd listen. And what they would hear is the buzzing of the bees. Extraordinary. The buzzing of the bees. And once you hear the buzzing of the bees, you can't not hear it. You're instantly tuned into it and you're plugged into it. And that is the essence of plugging into your brilliance. Once you tune into it, once you tune in to the buzzing of the bees, and the metaphor is once you tune in to the vibration of your soul, your genius, your brilliance, you can't not hear it. And that is so, so magic. And it's also life-changing. Okay, and then we talk about Socrates saying learning is just remembering, and teaching is helping one to remember. And one of the things, as David will probably confirm, is you listen to these teachings and they seem so familiar. Isn't that the case, David?
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's almost like it's so familiar, but you can't put a label on it. You can't put a time or a place or a happening on it. It's very extraordinary. And like you mentioned with Dwal Kul.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to share that wonderful story of that fellow who came to Joy who had the experience of Dwal Kul.
Yeah. So one of our students years ago, he was told by a student who was a student of mine for many years. He said, well, you know, I came over here to do some business. I was doing business on the side, and he didn't know that I was a teacher of the ancient teachings. And he sort of showed up and he saw the picture of Dwal Kul on my wall. And he went, I was just in a store and I was in this weird state where my ears were buzzing and I kind of felt like I was going to faint. And this guy showed up. That guy showed up not an hour ago. And I looked at him and he seemed familiar and now he's here. And he said, and what do you do? And I said, I teach his teachings. And he goes, sign me up. Let me get in right away. And so he's been a student of mine for now. He's been a student of mine probably for the last 10 years. It was, again, a very magic thing. So there is a familiarity to this.
Incredible. Yeah.
that I've been directed to share with many people.
I love that story. Amazing.
So in this course, in this mystery school, we talk about the mysteries of the mind. We talk about how to participate in a way where you can plug into your higher self using ancient techniques and using Gnosticism. And Gnosticism is the root. Gnosticism is the root of knowing, knowledge, right? And so it's very, very magic. And it's passed down to us from time immemorial.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to throw that comment up on the screen just yet.
So one of the things that happens during the time is the ego wants you to think that it is the be all and end all. And it is only the part of the mind that believes that your existence is defined by separation. And it isn't. Your ego is a vehicle through which you operate. Being, or being present, is completely without these distinctions. And one of the things that happens when you start to learn these great truths is your ego wants to get in there and run the show and rule the show. This is not so much an intellectual journey as it is a journey in the higher dimensions of your awareness, of your consciousness. Now we talk about the keys to consciousness, and it's pretty simple. One of the things that Master Chang, one of my Taoist teachers, taught years ago is if it isn't simple and it can't be put into everyday use, it's no use. So get rid of it, right? And there's the keys to consciousness are pretty simple: meditation, study, and service. Now, years ago, when I was a professor at the University of Calgary, I used to sit the students down. The last class I had was outrageously large. It was 188 kids. Most of the classes I taught were 30 to 40. But I said, if you could sit in front of anybody, any extraordinary individual, any master, any genius over the past many thousands of years, and ask them one question, what would you ask them? Now, the answer to that question would be absolutely life-changing, and it would change the very fabric and direction of your life forever. What would you ask them? But I didn't give them the answer. So I let them noodle on this, and it would take them days. And I'd get texts in the middle of the night. Is it this, or is it this, or is it this? And it would always be, yes, that's a wonderful question, but it's not the question. And so I left it with them. And in leaving it with them, they actually stopped to think, what would I ask? And the answer to this, I'm not going to leave you for 3 days, but the answer.
Wait, hold on, Jeff. Hold on. Before you give the answer,
Okay,
let's
fair
ask the
enough.
audience
Yeah.
right now. Let's
What
do it
would
live.
you ask
Yeah,
any master?
let's do that.
What would you ask any master? One question that would change your life forever.
So let's throw that into the live chat right now, guys. If you were sitting at the feet of a master or any masters, Yeshua or Dwal Kul or whoever it is, what would you ask them? What would your question be? I want to just throw that into the live chat. Comment.
What a great opportunity.
Comment now. We'll give you a minute just to reply, and then Jeff can carry on here. We've got about a 20-second delay from our stream to YouTube.
We have meditation, and this is the part of you getting quiet. We have the part of you reading these ancient books, the transcripts and the stuff, the likes of which light you up. The works of Blavatsky, the works of Alice Bailey, the works of Douglas Baker, the works of various authors that are absolutely profound. They plug you into a different realm of awareness. Why do you exist? Sandra, great question. That is a wonderful question. It's not the question, but okay. So, Bev, Snow Kuhn, we have a wonderful question here. What's the best advice you have to give for me? That comes from Haliel. Why duality, Stefan there, or Stephen? But Bev posited, how can I best serve? What a wonderful question, Bev. And in fact, that is, how can I best serve? How can I be of service? Now, how can I be of service to myself, to my body, to my emotions, to my mind, to my genius, to my soul, to the hierarchy? How can I be of service to my family, to my wife or husband, to my children, to my grandchildren, to my parents? There's a multitude. And Joe, again, what is my purpose as a server of life? Those are wonderful, very well thought out and very well presented. Well done. It's just incredible, right?
Is Bev's not part of the student body? Is she already right now?
Bev, who just said, how can I best be of service? She is part of the student body, but it was Bev, it was Bev Snow Kuhn, how can I best serve, who came out with it. Like, fabulous work, you guys. It's just fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
Amazing.
Just makes my heart sing to know that you guys are so tuned in. It's extraordinary.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to attend to the cosmic laws. Understanding the cosmic laws gives you insight into the way Mother Nature, the world, and God works. It's pretty simple. Hermetic principles. We use a lot of Egyptian predispositions. The esoteric sciences are the sciences that are hidden in plain view and that will come into the nomenclature of conventionality in this coming chapter. Okay. And we're also going to talk about symbology. Now, symbology is profoundly important in this next chapter. And symbology is, Carl Jung, who's again one of our teachers and one of our illuminators. He talks about you can never squeeze the full meaning out of a symbol. It means so many things to so many people that we need to be ever mindful of how symbology serves us. And in the parlance of all the ancient teachers, they've always said the soul speaks to you in symbols. And so Consequently, when in a meditation you see the symbol of a big sun, or you see the symbol of a cross, or you see the symbol of a triangle, or of a star, or there's a variety of things, but all of them have deep meaning, and you can never take out of the symbol enough. It always continues and continues to serve, right? Continues to serve. We're about to begin a joy semester. This joy semester will be the most profound joy semester in the 40 years that I've taught. Not because it's all that different, but because it comes at a time when the work that you will do will be profoundly contributive to the emancipation of mankind. And we bid you come and join us. And by joining us, perhaps you will be fulfilling a request that we made 10, 100, 1,000, maybe 500 years ago, in terms of join us to help with the emancipation of mankind. We bid you to do this, not because it's fun and frivolous and cool. This isn't a joyride. It is an exercise of service to yourself, to your higher self, and to mankind. We begin on January 27th. We start each Monday, and we go from 7 to 9 Mountain Time. We also record it, so you can watch it at any given point in time. And we have it live here in Calgary for those of you living in Calgary, and we have it via Zoom as well. I've been teaching it since the 80s, and I would bid that you participate if you are called to it. And there's some magic stuff going on right now.
6ix9ine is Canadian, right?
That's exactly right, which is a lot less US. Okay.
Yeah, most of our audience is US, so you lucky things, you do get less of a payment there potentially. I ambushed Jeff at the beginning of the show, and if you are watching from the GFL station, if you use the discount code GFL when you go to sign up, Jeff will give you 10% off. Now that is quite a deal. For what you're going to get, guys, I've done these semesters many, many times. They have been launch pads to my ascension. Every time, the next level has been revealed to me every time. And I think the biggest thing is the community that you get to be part of, the soul family, student body that you get to be part of, which I am today, is very, very powerful. When two or more gather, special things happen. And the secret sauce, of course, is to attend in person. There's nothing that ever replaces that. But I've been part of the Zoom sessions as well, the online sessions. They're just as powerful. And what happens is, and we actually experienced this with one of our gatherings here recently, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, our higher selves, when we get together like this, they sort of start to rub their hands together. And something very special, one of the very special things that happens is that our higher selves start to speak to each other through us. And a lot of the time we dismiss things people say, but when we start to tune in, we start to see these messages being given to each other. And it's this wonderful, interactive, collaborative environment where we trigger each other with these unveilings of the teachings, and Jeff leads it just so beautifully, and it is a very, very magical. Every session is very magical. The 2 hours just goes by like it's sort of 10 minutes, doesn't it? It just flies by.
There's something very magic about the group effect, right? And one of the things that happens as we continue to do the work we do is people show up at the ideal time, in the ideal space, and the inspiration that comes as a result of the group effort is quite profound, as David has been witness to, and as the thousands of people that I've taught over the years have been witness to as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These are various classes that we have taught over time, and that we continue to teach. And there's a very David Hawkins, Doc Hawkins, the very bottom right corner, right? It becomes clear that to truly know is to be rather than to know about. And one of the things that I think is really important for all of you to remember is this isn't an intellectual journey so much. Yes, you need to learn, you need to use your intellect, but it's a journey that suggests that your intellect is a tool for you to uncover and unveil the majesty of who you really are, because you aren't your thoughts. Your thoughts happen to be an aspect of you, kind of like your pinky is an aspect of you, but you aren't your thoughts. You're something much greater and much more profound than that. And as David mentioned earlier in our conversation, you are a spark of the divine. And I think there's something very magic about your acquiescing to your genius or acquiescing to your soul.
Mm-hmm. Love that. One of my favorite sayings, to truly know is to be, not to know about.
So who's ready to dive in? Because we're ready to have you. And this next slide is an important one, right? It is, God does not so much call the qualified. God qualifies the called. Do you feel called to this? Is this something that you feel to do? Because if it isn't, don't. And if it is, do. Because you're given the opportunity to participate in something way bigger than you. This has been way bigger than me for my entire life. And it is my life's journey to share this information with you. And I feel honored to have the ability to be of service in this way. In this way. Now, the next slide is a bit of a kicker as well. Things will not look like you think they should look. One of the things that happens in this journey is you will start to realize, as David has mentioned and as David will confirm, you start to realize that this is way bigger than your intellect, but also way bigger than your capacity to comprehend, right? So it's a very magic space, and it doesn't look like you think it should, does it, David?
It doesn't, and that's sort of putting it politely. It is a real sort of opportunity to get naked and to let go of the, not literally, although if you want to do that, I suppose that's okay, but in your own time, you're forced to let go of the paradigms that the egoic mind creates when we think things are going to become a certain way. And it's a wonderful opportunity to let go of that. And it's sort of like you trust the ride that you're on, but you've let go of the reins. And it's a freeing and amazing and also interesting experience. It's amazing. But yes, no, things do not look like they should, and that's going to be the case coming up for sure.
There's something very magic and it's a bit frightening too, but the magic part is that it is profound in its substance, and it is also a confrontation of the ego. The ego wants you to think it's God, it's the genius, it's the soul, but the ego's nose gets a bit out of joint because it wants to control it. And there's something very magic about these teachings that create a wee bit of a conundrum for the ego. and it's a magic journey, but it's also just a snitch uncomfortable. Is that fair, David?
Oh yeah, my goodness. It's very uncomfortable in the best way.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
So how can people, I know we've got this scrolling on the bottom of the screen here, but just remind people how they can get in touch with you and enroll.
So the email is retoolingtheworld@gmail.com. You're welcome to email me at any point in time. The YouTube channel we have up, we have retoolingtheworld.com / joy class. That's where you can go to the website. I also have on various places. I even have a phone number. And I'm also happy to open the floor, David, if it's okay, for questions that we might be able to might be able to answer and illuminate at the moment. Okay.
Yeah, so if you've got a question, guys, please do put that in all caps and we'll pick it up in the chat and we'll answer a few. And again, I just can't, I'm so excited to share the Retooling the World platform, share Jeff with you all whenever we get the chance to do that. Just from my own experience. I mean, Jeff's a great friend of mine now, and that's beautiful. But the teachings that he has brought forth into my life have been wonderful through these joy classes. So I just can't recommend them enough. And if you are looking to be part of this amazing community, please reach out to Jeff. I know there's a couple of people, or one person, I think it was Rose in the chat, who I asked to comment again at the end of the show, and here we are, about the financial investment. And if you can't afford that, I want to encourage you to maybe say that you can afford that and allow the divine to work. Because when we do say the word can't, we deny the Christ within us to work. And when we say we can, again, letting go, not knowing how it's going to work out, magical things can happen. And I promise you that if you do that, and if you do manage to raise the money to be part of the classes, you will thank yourself that you did. You really will. Let's just see. And Rose, I'm sure if you reach out to Jeff, something can be arranged if that is the case. So please do that. Let's see here. Questions. Have the coming Earth changes been discussed? Well, Carl, yes and no. It'll be a live unveiling of discussion over the next year and beyond. I think in the immediate future, yeah, there's the big ones that we know of. There is which we'll share some of that now, and that's that in the material world, we are going to see some major disclosure events on the ET subject. That's already well in motion. I know many of you are aware of this. We are going to see one or two bigger events of this nature, and we don't know how that's going to look. No one does. Well, some people do, but even there's competing agendas here still. And we just ask you that you remain open-minded with that. I think it's going to surprise even us who are awake and aware of a lot of this. But everything is going to change as a result, in the best way, chaotically maybe first, but that's coming. So there's definitely that. And I'll turn it over to you in a second, Jeff. The financial system is evolving and changing. You will see the narrative around that with the coming US administration. By the way, guys, there's a reason why the North American channel, America and Canada, is sort of the energetic center in many regards of the world. And if you believe this or not, it's up to you. But in my understanding, one of the first colonized continents looked a little bit different there was the Americas as we are in now. And so energetically, a lot of this is flowing forth from here. Now, neither Jeff or I get involved in identity politics. It's not important to us. And if you do, then get interested in that. But it is very, very clear that the balance of power has shifted and there is a new paradigm coming. And it is being led by you watching this. The light is revealing things in the shadows and it cannot be stopped. I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add to that, Jeff.
Well, imagine, if you will, we are surrounded by we are surrounded by a hierarchy of very wise, very evolved beings. We are also surrounded by the realm that is ruled by the law of free will. Now, the law of free will says we have to figure it out ourselves. However, the law of free will also says that if you are standing in a place where you are watching another impose their will against another, against their will, for example, if an adult is about to hit a child, you can stop the adult from hitting the child and doing that child harm, because the child does not willingly say, hit me. So one of the things that's happening with the elders right now is they're saying, we want you to wake up to realize that you cannot hit another but for hitting yourself. What you do to another, you do to yourself. So, excuse me. So we're in this place where these elders are there wanting us to wake up. So we realize that you can live in a world where your contributions, you can be conscientious, you can be caring and loving and giving to everybody. And we're literally about to step into a new place. And these elders, these wise beings, whether they're from this star system or from another star system, all know that we are one. And by knowing that we are one, they know that as you do to yourself or as you do to another, you do to yourself. So they want to propagate that idea. And as we step into this new time, we start to realize that we're all cells in part of a greater being. We all move and live and have our being in a greater being. And so when that comes to light, everybody goes, oh, great. Okay. I want you to prosper. I want you to flourish. I want you to wake up. I want you to connect to the divine. I want you to connect to your soul. It's all part of the divine design, and it's magic.
Mm-hmm. Love it. A question from Nell. If I'm already into the masters like Tolle and Muji Maharishi and on the path quite some time, is this something for me and why?
So now the answer to that is always trust your intuition. Like these are not these are not frivolous teachings, but it's also something that jives with your own intuition. Ask yourself the question. You are the best judge of your journey. Now, all of these teachings are in keeping with all of the Eckhart Tolle and the Muji and the all of these are in keeping. We all have various messengers that all say the same thing. This is a group work where we study the ancient teachings, and all of the ancient teachings, in all fairness, say the same thing. So trust your intuition.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Yep. Eunice from Nigeria, I believe I would love to be part of the class, like to be part of the class. How do I participate from Lagos, Nigeria? Get in touch with Jeff, I would say, Eunice, and work that out. There's probably a bit of a time difference with the classes, but I'm sure you can make that happen.
I teach in Australia, I teach in Holland, I teach in England, I teach in Italy. There's all over the world that I teach. I've had a class going in Australia now for the years at 2025 for 13 years. I've been teaching a class in Melbourne remotely, but I teach all over the world, you guys.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Let's just see here. Questions. We'll do one more, guys, and then we'll just sign off here. We've been going for a little bit. Let's see. Okay, nothing really pressing, but that's a good note. Let's just wrap up here, Jeff, and we want to say thank you for everyone who was joining tonight. Please go ahead to join the Retooling YouTube channel, Retooling the World. If you search on YouTube, you'll be able to find it. When we cut the live feed, I will leave the show up on the GFL station for about 5-10 minutes, guys, and then it's going to be off there. So if you want to watch this back, you're going to have to go to the Retooling the World YouTube channel. Please do reach out to Jeff. I say this with the highest love and light. He will just bless you with these teachings. They are amazing. And yeah, just amazing to be here with you all. And Jeff, a treat as always to be with you. I'm sure we'll do many more of these. And we're all in this together. So
and David, I cannot thank you enough for our camaraderie and our journey together. I think there's something very big that we're going on, and I greatly appreciate the work you do, and I greatly appreciate how good you are at doing what you do. God bless you, dude.
Well, thank you. I myself can do nothing. We just position ourselves with the divine, but thank you very much. But yeah, thank you, guys. Please do reach out to Jeff, and I hope that you join a wonderful student body all over the world. And we will see you on the next live show. If you want to get on the mailing list for future shows like this from the GFL station side of things, please do go to the gflstation.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and pop in your email address. You'll be put on the mailing list there. We've got some amazing meditations coming up. And yeah, we will see you on the next show, guys. Have an amazing rest of the week. And don't be so hard on yourself. These are big energies. These are big energies, and they're not going to slow down. As Jeff and I have mentioned before, the law of acceleration is well in effect, and everything that is in your lower chakras is going to be brought to the surface right now. I'm sure you're already experiencing this. Some of it's yours, some of it isn't. So use your discernment. And we are very, very critical of ourselves. So
be gentle with yourselves.
Be good to yourself.
Be gentle.
Yeah. Have a dance. Have a joke and a dance. But yeah, we love you all, and we will we'll see you soon.
Thank
Lots
you all.
of love, guys.